what you are from old Australopithecus 500,000 years ago. That's not something to be afraid of, something to look forward to. You're growing, you're developing, you're becoming a new race, you're becoming a new species. Your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and your descendants on in the next century or two have destiny in the stars. Don't you doubt that for a minute. This species, this race, this troublesome bunch of monkeys has a destiny in the stars. And we are a part of this infinite universe filled with intelligent life. And we have been from the beginning, but we're only now beginning to wake up and see it. Only now are we beginning to open our eyes and listen with our ears and look out there and say, all right, where have I been? What am I now? Where am I going? As I said, your destiny is in the stars. Your generations to come, your descendants, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, will go out there and they will claim their rightful place in a universe filled with intelligent life. Your place out there belongs to you. You have a right to that, and you will claim it. There is so much to talk about. I've got some slides I have to share with you. Would you gentlemen please put the first picture up on the screen? I'm being assisted by some very wonderful people back behind the scene here. I like to start with a shot like this. Pictures of this nature that sort of inspire me. It gives you a glimpse of the community that you are a part of. A little glimpse of the stars out there, the nebulae. That's where you're from, and that's where you're going home again to. That's where you belong. Next picture, please. I love these. They're just so beautiful. I have some of these on my wall at home. But they inspire me. I look at them and I have a sense of recognition that I've been there before. And I know that I'm going back. But something happened in my country over the last few years that I'm very, very troubled by. Just last week, the United States celebrated the 40th anniversary of putting a man on the moon. And we went through this whole hoop-de-doo of patting ourselves on the back and think, gee, wasn't that neat? Armstrong, Aldrin, Collins up there in orbit. On the moon. Aren't we great people? Aren't we magnificent? Look what we did. Well, let me tell you a couple of things that they did that you may not have ever heard about before. They took the few pictures they had it all televised, everybody, Walter Cronkite and all of them were looking out, golly gee, isn't this great? Isn't this neat? We got a couple of guys on the moon. Ladies and gentlemen, my government, NASA, NASA, which many of us in the United States say stands for never a straight answer, proceeded to erase 40 rolls of film of the Apollo program. The flight to the moon, the flight around the moon, the landings on the moon, the walking guys here and there. They erased, for Christ's sake, 40 rolls of film of those events. Now we're talking about several thousand individual frames that were taken that the so-called authorities determined you did not have a right to see. Oh, they were disruptive, socially unacceptable, politically unacceptable. I become furious. I'm a retired command sergeant major. I was never famous for having a lot of patience. The idea when I found out that they had erased 40 rolls of film involving several thousand individual shots about what really happened up there, I became so furious that I could have punched the director of NASA in the nose. I try to be, I'm not a dangerous man. I like to tell people that, like Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady, I have the milk of human kindness by the quart in every vein. So I really am a gentle man. But I have the capability, the potential of being rather dangerous and violent. And these lies and these cover-ups that I've learned about firsthand over the years literally infuriate me. And I hope it infuriates you, because these authorities, these nitwits in high positions of power, who are proceeding to spend all the money that the American people make for their own use, for their own private programs, and then lie through their teeth about what the truth really is. Well, thanks to the idea that there were a few employees in NASA 40 years ago, even today, there are some good people working there, decent people, honest people. I have some film that they preserved that was not destroyed. Gentlemen, put up the next picture for me, please. This is a NASA photo. This is Apollo 12. Apollo Systems 12, roll number 50, negative number 7348. They were flying over the moon before they landed. They went into orbit around the moon. As many of you, I'm sure, you know the system, you know the procedure. They went into orbit around the moon, and while they were there in orbit around the moon, a number of anomalous artifacts began showing up, showing interest in them. Next picture, please. This picture was taken by Neil Armstrong. While they're looking out of the window of their little craft, this object flew by. There's the moon in the background, of course, and here's this object that flew by the window of that little craft that they were riding in. Neil took the Hasselblad camera that he had, put it up to the window, and snapped this picture. Next picture, please. NASA Apollo 12. Roll 51, negative number 8653, or something like that. Now this is a good-sized object. This is several hundred feet in diameter that came up next to the lander, flew along beside them for a time. The guys in the Apollo crafts put their camera to the window and snapped the thing. And I've always jokingly said there were guys inside of this taking pictures of the NASA guys. We were photographing them, they were photographing us. Next picture, please. Photo NASA, Apollo Systems number 14, Apollo 14. Roll 70, negative, 9837, I think, or 8837, I can't read it. This is the Landsberg crater on the moon. The guys in orbit above the moon were particularly fascinated by Landsberg. They had been given a special assignment to take pictures of Landsberg because the crater, which they designated as Landsberg, had things going on in the crater that were very anomalous. There was a construction going on. There were enormous facilities in the middle of the crater up there. So they were specifically designated and assigned to photograph Landsberg to see if they could figure out what the hell's going on down there in the crater on Landsberg. While they were looking at Landsberg, this object happened to express interest in them and flew by. Now this line is an artificial line that was drawn to show you the direction that this object was going. This is a good-sized object flying past the Apollo lander. God, I'm so glad that